What if the one person a villain trusted most became the very person who tore his whole world apart? Right now on Coronation Street, that is exactly what is happening, and the fallout is absolutely explosive. For months, Theo Silverton has terrorized Todd Grimshaw behind closed doors, pulling the strings of a deeply disturbing domestic abuse storyline that has kept viewers gripped and horrified in equal measure. But this week the walls finally came crashing down, and it was Theo's own mate Gary Windass who swung the wrecking ball. Welcome back to the channel. If you are a Coronation Street fan, you're going to want to hear every single word of this one because things on the cobbles just got very serious. For those who may have missed some of the earlier chapters of this dark and gripping saga, let us set the scene. Theo Silverton is a self-employed scaffolder who left his wife Danielle for Todd Grimshaw in 2025. A former Christian and victim of conversion therapy, Theo has struggled deeply with his sexuality and arrived in Weatherfield carrying a history of violence towards male partners. Coronation Street Wiki: what began as a seemingly whirlwind romance quickly revealed itself to be something far more sinister. In his relationship with Todd, Theo has exhibited controlling and abusive behavior, isolating him from his loved ones, including Billy Mayhew, who Theo left to die in a minibus explosion. Coronation Street Wiki: that detail alone tells you everything you need to know about just how dangerous this man truly is. Actor James Cartwright plays Theo, a character who has been systematically abusing Todd Grimshaw, played by Gareth Pierce, for much of the past year. 24H Magazine: the show has handled this storyline with sensitivity and realism, partnering with Gallup, the LGBTQ+ anti-abuse charity, to ensure the depiction of coercive control within a same-sex relationship is portrayed responsibly and accurately. What the writers have crafted is uncomfortable viewing, which is precisely the point. Domestic abuse thrives in silence, and Coronation Street has refused to let Theo's cruelty stay hidden for much longer. And hidden it has been. For months, Todd covered, defended, and deflected. He flinched, smiled through pain, and pushed away the very people who loved him most. But the cracks were always there, and this past week those cracks became craters. The dramatic turning point came not through a police investigation or a dramatic confrontation. It came through a bathroom door. When Theo returned home, he heard noises from the bathroom and assumed Todd was inside. True to form, he hurled cruel comments about Todd's appearance, hoping to further erode his self-esteem, only for Todd to appear at the front door having popped out for some tea bags, leaving Theo utterly horrified as George Shuttleworth emerged from the bathroom, shaken by every word he had just overheard. That was the moment everything changed. George Shuttleworth, Todd's close friend and former colleague at the funeral parlor, finally had the confirmation he had been quietly dreading. And once George knew, it was only a matter of time before the rest of Weatherfield followed. Christina and Summer brought Glenda and Sarah up to speed on what George had shared, leaving them shaken as they began to join the dots and realize what Todd had been quietly enduring. Back to the Bay, Sarah Platt, always fierce when it comes to protecting the people she loves, wasted no time in taking action. Now here is where the story takes its most dramatic turn yet, because Sarah went straight to Gary Windass. Gary, who viewers know as Theo's workmate, his so-called best mate, the man who stood as one of only two witnesses at Theo's rushed and deeply suspicious surprise wedding to Todd. Though initially doubtful, Gary began to see the bigger picture as Sarah laid out the pattern of Theo's behavior across their entire relationship history. Back to the Bay, and once Gary's eyes were opened, there was no closing them again. Sarah visited Gary Windass to share her concerns and asked how Todd had seemed at the surprise wedding. The realization soon hit Gary, and he headed over to Todd and Theo's flat to investigate. What he witnessed there sealed Theo's fate. Outside the flat, Todd put on a fake smile as he assured an unconvinced Gary that the pair were in the honeymoon period. When Gary invited himself in, he was horrified to hear Theo speaking harshly to his husband, unaware that Gary was also present. Theo scrambled to change his demeanor, but the damage was done. Gary noticed Todd's shaky hands and nervous energy and made his suspicions known. "If I find out it's true," Gary warned, alluding to Theo's abuse and making clear that he is capable of extreme violence. "I'm on to you, Theo. We all are." Those words hit like a thunderclap. And then came the real moment of reckoning. In Monday's episode, Gary sent Theo packing from the builder's yard after confirming for himself that he had been abusing Todd. Gary handed Theo his tools and told him he was out of a job, and when Theo accused him of going too far, Gary's temper flared and he warned him in no uncertain terms to be careful. TV Guide. Just like that, Theo lost his income, his ally, and his carefully constructed reputation as a decent bloke, all in one fell swoop. But Theo Silverton does not go quietly. That is not who he is. With no job and his fake nice guy reputation in tatters, Theo may have appeared defeated, but he still had one last card to play. In that card, Belfast. Theo told Todd that he had received a very convenient promotion in Belfast and is planning to move right away. TV Guide. On the surface it sounds like a fresh start. But anyone who has been watching this storyline knows exactly what it really is. A trap. Theo's plan to flee the cobbles and take Todd with him means that if he gets Todd to Belfast, isolated from every single person who cares about him, the abuse will only escalate with no one around to intervene. When Theo later discovers George's escape bag back at the flat, panic sets in. Todd spins a tale, claiming it is a gift from George connected to their Belfast plans. But can he convince Theo? Entertainment Daily. Probably not for long. Because Theo, rattled and suspicious, heads straight to the bistro to confront George. Entertainment Daily. Meanwhile, Sarah and Summer are left alarmed when they learn Todd is planning to leave for Belfast with Theo, and they are desperate to make him reconsider. Entertainment Daily. And then there is the move that could prove to be the most consequential of all. On Gary's advice, Sarah meets up with Danielle Silverton, Theo's ex-wife, in the bistro and asks her whether Theo was ever violent towards her. Gee, this is huge. Because if Danielle speaks, if she confirms what many suspect, that Theo's pattern of abuse started long before Todd, then the net around him becomes inescapable. But Sarah's conversation with Danielle is interrupted when an incandescent Theo catches them talking. This will not end well. So where does all of this leave us in terms of the bigger picture? The confirmed news that has sent shockwaves through the Coronation Street fan community is this. Coronation Street is lining up a dramatic exit for Theo Silverton, with plans to write out the character now revealed. Digital Spy understands that James Cartwright, who plays Theo, always knew he was joining the show for a specific storyline that would ultimately lead to his character's departure. A Coronation Street spokesperson has confirmed, James joined on a finite contract and was aware of his character's story arc and how long he would be in the show. He still has scenes to film and will be on screen until later this year. Entertainment Daily. Exactly how Theo exits, whether in handcuffs on a one-way flight to Belfast or in something far more dramatic, remains tightly under wraps. A recent Coronation Street flash-forward aired which took viewers to April 23rd, the night of a murder. The episode saw Betsy Swain find a dead body and give a statement to the police. The possible victims include Megan, Theo, Carl, Jody, and Maggie. TV Guide. One of them dies. And CORRIE fans have been debating with extraordinary passion about whether that body could be Theo's. With Gary now firmly on Team Todd, Coronation Street fans have predicted that a murder twist could be on the cards. Given Gary's history, having previously been responsible for the deaths of Rick Nalon and Rana Habib, viewers have now predicted that Gary could kill Theo in a bid to protect Todd. TV Guide. It is the kind of dark poetry that Coronation Street does so brilliantly, using a character's violent past to set up a morally complex future action. Would Gary killing Theo be justice, or would it simply be another tragedy? Fan reactions on social media have been overwhelmingly desperate and fearful for Todd's safety. One viewer on X exclaimed simply, "No Todd, you can't move to Belfast with him." TV Guide. Another wrote, "Not Theo trying to take Todd to Belfast so he can continue his abuse without anyone being able to stop him. I hope they get him before that, because if he gets Todd to Belfast I think he will end up killing him." TV Guide. The emotional investment in this storyline from the fanbase has been extraordinary, reflecting just how effectively the writers and cast have brought this difficult subject matter to life. And there is real cause for hope too. A recent flash-forward confirmed that Todd and Theo are still on the street come April 23rd, suggesting Todd does not permanently disappear to Belfast, at least not just yet. TV Guide: The fight for Todd Grimshaw's freedom is not over. His friends have rallied, the truth is coming out, and Theo Silverton's carefully constructed world is collapsing around him. What began as a love story on the cobbles has become one of the most important and harrowing domestic abuse storylines that Coronation Street has told in years. The show deserves enormous credit for tackling coercive control in a same-sex relationship with such care and conviction, and for ensuring that the message is clear. Abuse can happen to anyone, and speaking up is never the wrong choice. So to summarize where we stand, Gary has fired Theo and turned his back on him completely. George has given Todd an escape bag and refuses to give up on his friend. Sarah is digging into Theo's past through his ex-wife Danielle. Theo is plotting a desperate exit to Belfast and intends to drag Todd along with him. And somewhere in the weeks ahead, James Cartwright will film his final scenes as one of CORRIE's most chilling modern villains, with his exit storyline still deliciously unknown. One thing is certain: the endgame for Theo Silverton is coming, and when it arrives, it is going to be unmissable television. That is everything we know right now, but this story is far from finished. So tell us, what do you think is going to happen to Theo? Will Gary take matters into his own hands? Will Todd finally escape before it is too late? Or could Theo Silverton end up as the body on April 23rd? Drop your theories in the comments below. We read every single one of them. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel more than you know. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button now so you never miss another Coronation Street update. We will see you in the next one.